Okay, Ben, cheese eating time is over. We have a show to do.
Sorry. Hold on. Now I'm going to have some water.
Oh, there we go. There we go. There's that cap.
Ah, it's so delicious, man.
How's it going, everybody? We're live. Are you hearing us okay today? YouTube's acting a little funky, so I want to make sure. Everybody, as I read today's sponsors, go ahead and let me know if you can hear us and make sure everything's cool. Your live stream chat experience, is it the same per usual? Yes? No? Let me know. Like I said, YouTube live stream's acting a little wonky. All right, your Benjarovsky show for Wednesday, February 24th is just moments away. But before we go any further, we need to thank our sponsors. Sponsors like SEIU Healthcare, Illinois, Indiana.
That is correct.
The Chicago Federation of Labor, they are sponsors.
That is correct.
And of course, today's Benjarovsky show is brought to you by the Chicago Reader, chicagoreader.com for all things there is to know. The city of Chicago, what to do, where to go, what to eat, even during a pandemic. I know, it's insane. Political columns from our very own Benjarovsky. Chicago Reader columnist Maya Dukmasova. By the way, our interview with Maya Dukmasova available right now, chicagoreader.com, wherever else you download podcasts. There's audio, there's papers. You could subscribe to the paper, subscribe to the Benjarovsky show. Also, become a Benjarovsky show Benhead. Yeah, are you a Benhead? Well, you can be. chicagoreader.com/Joravsky, Jorav as in victory, SKY. Become a Benhead. And also, when you become a Benhead, you will get a deal on the soon-to-be-released book from our very own Benjarovsky. It's his greatest hits, a collection from over 40 years. That my coworker has put together, all right? His greatest hits, chicagoreader.com/Joravsky. Okay. Everybody?
Dude, how old can one guy be? 40 years.
Well,
good Lord.
About 10 years. I'm going to 50 years of...
Dennis! Dr. D!
Good Lord. All right, I think everybody can hear us okay, so I think we're good to go. You do have a song of the day. It is by the Beatles. Beatles, please do not sue us, because this isn't going to sound anything like your song. All right, I'll take that to court. Good Day, Sunshine by the Beatles.
Good day, sunshine. Good day, sunshine. Good day, sun. I used to walk. I got it. I'm gonna stop singing because I can't sing at all. Ding.
Well, out of all the times you say you can't sing, that was actually pretty good.
This makes me feel good. My wife said to me the other day, your singing's getting better. I guess all this singing is paying off.
There you go.
Of course, it couldn't get worse. That was the implied other statement.
It's still pretty bad. The Benjarovsky show starts now. It is Wednesday, February 24th. And still live from my apartment and still live from his attic, this is the Benjarovsky show. Today on the program, legendary Chicago journalist, Monroe Anderson. And now your host, over 40 years. Whoa. Chicago Reader columnist Benjarovsky.
Hello, everybody. Benjarovsky here. We're calling this Sleazy Cuomo Wednesday, and here's why. Breaking news out of New York involving Governor Andrew Cuomo. None of it good. A former aide is accusing Cuomo of sexual harassment. Her name is Lindsay Boylan, and she used to work for the New York State's Economic Development Agency in the Cuomo administration. Now she's running for president in Manhattan Borough. Here's the lead from the New York Times story. The aide, Lindsay Boylan, describes several years of uncomfortable interactions with Cuomo, a third-term Democrat, including an invitation to play strip poker on a government airplane and an email from another top aide suggesting that the governor thought she was a better-looking sister of another woman, end of quote. That's the lead in the New York Times story that was just breaking as they went on the air. Anyway, Lindsay Boylan went into detail with an essay she wrote for Medium, and I will now quote from it. Quote, Governor Andrew Cuomo has created a culture within his administration where sexual harassment and bullying is so pervasive that it is not only condoned, but expected. His inappropriate behavior toward women was an affirmation that he liked you, that he must be doing something right, that you must be doing something right, I should say. He used intimidation to silence his critics, and if you dared to speak up, you would face consequences. God dams. I will continue. She gets more specific. Cuomo was always coming on to her. He made stupid innuendos. He said, let's play strip poker. She claims he kissed her. He gave her a tour of his office and showed her a cigar box, said it was a gift from President Bill Clinton. I will quote from the essay. As Cuomo showed me around, I tried to maintain my distance. He paused at one point and smirked as he showed off a cigar box. He told me that President Clinton had given it to him while he served as the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development. The 2-decade-old reference to President Clinton's affair with Monica Lewinsky was not lost on me. Yes, yes, folks. It was like an inside joke. Clinton and the cigar. We all know what he's alluding to. Cuomo, really? What are you doing, dude? Lindsay Boylan continues, and quote, in 2018, I was promoted to Deputy Secretary for Economic Development and Special Advisor to the Governor. I initially turned the job down, not because I didn't want the responsibility or work, but because I didn't want to be near him. I finally accepted the position at the governor's insistence with one requirement. I would keep my old agency office and remain on a separate floor with him, from him and his inner circle. The governor's pervasive harassment extended beyond just me. He made unflattering comments about the weight of female colleagues. He ridiculed them about their romantic relationships and significant others. He said the reasons that men get women were money and power, and so on and so forth. Comes on the heels of reports that Cuomo's administration was covering up nursing home deaths related to COVID, and that he was calling up state legislators who were trying to look into the nursing home deaths, telling them to shut up, intimidating them. He's always acting like a colossal bully. He had that reputation. And it leads me to believe, what is it about Dems? There's it's like this, how do I put this? It's like a typical Dem behavior where they just get this power and it goes to their heads. It's so Clintonian. It's so Bill Clinton in the 1990s. They think they can get away with anything because they, give a good speech, or they can make references to great democratic ideals, or because everyone is always sucking up to them and telling them how great and wonderful they are. No comment from the Cuomo administration about the latest allegations from Lindsay Boylan. When she first emerged with allegations in a tweet, he denied them. We'll see how far he goes with his denials. But her allegations, her stories sort of conform to many reports coming out of the Cuomo administration in New York. And I mentioned Cuomo because this is the guy that Dems were revering in the early stages of the pandemic. This is the guy that Dems were swooning over. Oh, please, run for president right now, Andrew Cuomo. I may have been tempted to have said that. I think I may have said that on the show once, knowing everything I knew about this guy.
You got an I Heart Cuomo bumper sticker ready to put on your car? I'm like, dude, maybe you want to wait a little bit. I don't know.
Yes, I think you did caution me that. Young Dennis cautioned the old man. Calm down, Ben. They gave him an Emmy. We talked about this last week. They gave him an Emmy. Oh, my God, Dems, you're embarrassing. It is embarrassing.
The rumor has his brother was pissed about that. Chris Cuomo, CNN, you got an Emmy?
That's the other thing. They got the brother. He works, CNN. And it's like, oh, my God, it's so heartwarming. The Cuomo brothers, they love each other. And then, of course, Cuomo now, the one on CNN can't report about the governor because it's embarrassing, and he loves him. It's his best friend. So what, they have to hand off to another staffer to talk about the scandals with Cuomo, the bullying with Cuomo? I don't know, Dems. I'm just, look, I know I'm a Bernie lefty. I'm not a centrist Dem. And as such, you guys don't really look at me, as an ally. You look at me with suspicion. I know what you say. We have a lot of centrists come on the show and they like to tease me about Bernie. But what is it, Dems? Please explain this to me. Like, the type of Dem that gets a little power, it goes to his head, and they just act really weird and bizarre and overextend themselves. So Clintonian and so revered by the MSNBC crowd. They gave the dude an Emmy.
I mean, they were good press conferences.
Oh my God, they weren't that great.
He wasn't stumbling or anything. I mean, they were good.
I mean, the bar is low. And like he would talk about his mom and his daughter, and he would give out advice. Like, who's going to take advice from this guy? One more time. Can we have that Emmy back? And Dems, stop acting like you're Bill Clinton. He's not a good role model. We've got a great show today, everybody. Monroe Anderson. He's not falling for the Cuomo hype. He didn't say give him an Emmy. In fact, he's going to say, take that Emmy. Get it back. I think the Emmy people should go right now. Take that Emmy back from Andrew Cuomo. Dems, wake up. Stop pretending you're Bill Clinton. Anyway, plenty of political talk ahead of us. Before we do that, the young man from Alton, the man that Bill Clinton and Andrew Cuomo like to call the doctor. And the one guy, and I've known him for a while, who's never really had a good thing to say about Bill Clinton or Andrew Cuomo, and that is for real. This dude is Bernie or bust.
Yeah, Bernie pisses me off every now and again, too. All right, no one's safe in the dentist zone.
It's true, but you got to admit Bernie's got more integrity than Andrew Cuomo or Bill Clinton. You got to admit that. But anyway, what was I saying? Oh, yes, the man that Bill Clinton and Andrew Cuomo like to get together and play strip poker with, the man they call Dr. D with the news.
How's it going, everybody? And I'm with you, man. Andrew Cuomo, get rid of that Emmy. And hey, let's get JB Pritzker that Grammy.
I'd love to win a Grammy.
Come on now.
I just don't see Pritzker doing this kind of behavior. I just don't see it, D. You know what I mean? It just doesn't seem like he's got that glorified sense of him. Cuomo is like, he's really in love with himself. That was Clinton, too.
Well, once the media's done banging Cuomo around, maybe we'll find something out about Pritzker next. You know what I mean? Who knows? Give it time. Give it time, Ben. Give it time.
Yeah, I'm on the Pritzker bandwagon. I just can't see him doing anything like that. Anyway, the man from Alton, the man that Governor Pritzker likes to call Dr. D.
Two of them. Two of them. My name's Dennis. How's it going? Let's find out what's happening in Chicago and or Illinois this afternoon. And before we go any further, I believe a congratulations is in order. Ben, your beloved town of Evanston has a new mayor.
Oh, yes, they do.
The former senator, the former gubernatorial candidate, and yes, present-day mathematician has done it. Daniel Biss has declared victory in his race to become the Evanston mayor. Early results from Tuesday's primary election in Evanston indicate voters may have determined the winner of the races for the city's two citywide offices without needing an April runoff. Daniel Biss declared victory after unofficial results showed him with a lead of more than 4,500 votes over his nearest competitor. With more than half of votes counted, he wins the race outright, according to the terms of the 1992 referendum. An hour after polls closed, Biss had collected more than 73% of the votes counted and declared victory on a video teleconference with supporters and the press.
Well, I can tell you, D, that pretty much nobody in the state of Illinois, in the country of the United States, would care who was elected mayor of Evanston. I would care because it's my hometown. As I like to point out, I was a distinguished scholar for 4 years at Evanston Township High School, where I was known for barely passing chemistry, among other things. But really nobody cares who the mayor of Evanston is. But Dan Biss made a big name for himself in 2018 by running as the quote-unquote progressive candidate for governor. And as everybody recalls, he came in second to J.B. Pritzker in the primary. And he is the answer to the trivia question: who did Ben vote for in the 2018 gubernatorial election? D, how much did we talked? That was back in the radio days. We talked about that gubernatorial primary every day. It was the big news because it was the Democrats' chance to undo the damage caused by 4 years of Bruce Rauner and his insane obsession with destroying collective bargaining in the state of Illinois. So much has changed since then. But I remember progressives, and now I'm going to, this is like a distinction. I'm going to make a distinction. When Romana comes on the show, in Romana's eyes, everybody is like liberal. But no, there's different categories. This is a discussion we have all the time. So you have like Dems who are just Clintonian and they love Rahm, and they always are pushing the Democratic Party to the right with the notion that that's what you have to do to win elections. That's the responsible thing to do. Plus, it makes a lot of money for the people who support the party with the donations and stuff. So they it's all mixed together with their self-interest, with what they think is in the best interest. That's like your centrist Dem. Then you have progressives who used to be called liberals, and they're what? What do they believe in? I guess they believe in the notion of good government in this most abstract form. And Daniel Biss was a progressive. He was what we used to call a liberal. And as such, I was always getting besieged by people telling me to vote for him. And I finally voted for him. And I was, of course, envious of Dennis, who didn't. That's called voter envy. Dennis voted for the cool candidate, Bob Diver from downstate Illinois. Anyway, Danny Biss trying to figure out what he's going to do with his career. He gave up his state senate seat to run for governor. Now he's going to be mayor of Evanston. How many people live in Evanston? About 70,000, D. So you could argue that it's like a parallel move. But good luck to you, Dan. Best of luck to you. If Evanston has a great rebounds, it has but as I expect cities and throughout the state of Illinois to do. That's my prediction. I made that prediction on the show with the Heartland Moms yesterday. When this pandemic lifts, good times for all. So if that happens in the city of Evanston, you could ride that to another office, a higher office, D. And I never thought of the mayor of Evanston as a stepping stone to anything, but maybe that'll work out for young Dan Biss.
Well, and I'm glad it's finally over because we can finally talk about this. I have to break the fourth wall here. There was a rumor going around here. You are from Evanston. You love Evanston, and you did vote for Daniel Biss in the gubernatorial primary. Did you not?
Yes, sir.
Well,
I did.
I'm breaking
under interrogation.
I'm breaking the fourth wall here. Rumor has it you were on that campaign committee to get Biss elected.
For Evanston?
Yeah.
For Evanston?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
There's no truth to that rumor at all. Okay?
All right.
Now, I will give you 10 trivia points if you can name any previous mayor of Evanston. Go.
Let me think here. Hold on. Let me think. Ice Cube.
Oh my! Ding, 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 ding. Yeah, Dan Biss, mayor of Evanston. I don't know. I think being mayor of Evanston will be an easier job than being governor of Illinois. Just saying. People in Evanston, very liberal. You got progressives. You got liberals. Got a few Republicans.
Well, I like how you ducked and dodged there because I did see Biss Please T-shirts, a big stack of them, in your attic one day. Just saying, that's cool. Congratulations, Daniel Biss. We do have a quote from the new mayor, Dan Biss. Dan Biss said, quote, "One train leaves Evanston at 3 a.m., averaging 30 miles per hour. Another train headed in the same direction leaves Evanston at 6 a.m., averaging 60 miles an hour." Just kidding, guys. Little math humor there.
That was good. D, by the way, I love those word problems.
Yeah.
When I was like, oh my God. And I'm a little slow with a lot of things, but particularly when it comes to math, I get those word problems and I would just look at them and read them over and over again. Okay, the train's going 30 miles an hour. The wind's blowing at 15 miles an hour. The train's going east. The wind's blowing west. The smoke's going, where's the smoke going? I'd be like trying to figure it out. Danny Biss would be like the kid next to me, go, oh, come on, this is easy. I shouldn't make fun of guys who are good at math. Just jealous. I'm just jealous of you, Dan Biss.
Right.
I wasn't.
Yeah, right now there's about 5 kids who sat by you in class listening right now going, is he talking about me?
All those kids, man. Oh, dude, could you just move your shoulder a little more to the right so I get a better view? Ah, there we go. Okay, there we go. That's the key to getting out of geometry. Just sit behind a Steve Chickowitz. Hey, Steve, just move your shoulder a little to the right.
Shout out to Steve Chickowitz. What's going on, buddy? Appreciate you listening.
Do you know what his nickname was back in the day?
The Chickmeister?
Chicken Tit.
Oh,
yes,
we are
the wit and wisdom of young scholars at Emerson High School.
File this under TMI. Okay. We do have a real quote from Dan Biss, not a math problem. He said, quote, tonight is a night of celebration for us. Tomorrow morning is a morning of rest. But then we enter a period of work. Work to transform our city. Work to enact this new vision. Work to build policies that work for every single Evanstonian and lift every single Evanstonian up. And I'm asking all of you to join me in that work, just as you joined me this campaign. Thank you so much. I love you more than you will know, and I cannot tell you how excited I am about what we're going to accomplish together.
Evanstonian, that's what they're called. That's not a bad joke about what I used to do in the 70s. Evanstonians is what they're called. And by the way, Mayor Biss, I think I read in the paper that the movie theater in Evanston closed. I love that movie theater. Okay, now the pandemic obviously was a punch to the gut of movie theaters everywhere. So one of the things I'm really looking forward to doing, D, whenever I get this vaccine, Lord knows when that'll be, is to go back to the movies. So Mayor Biss, if you can figure out some way to get a movie theater back in Evanston, that will truly be a great triumph. Good luck to that.
Let's see what you got to deal with now, Biss. My God, you got Gerards probably calling you every 5 minutes. Hey, fix that theater. Oh, man, you may have been better off trying to be governor, but just saying. I don't know.
I think that theater was built with TIF funds, D. You know, the Evanstonians used to call me up from time to time. Ben, you write all about those TIFs in Chicago. Our TIF program sucks, too. And I'm like, guys, they weren't the only suburban folks who would call me up. It's so time consuming and energy consuming and brain consuming to deal with the horrors of Chicago's TIF program. You now want me to be an expert on Arlington Heights TIF program, Berwyn's TIF program, Evanston's TIF? Sorry, I have to turn them down.
Oh.
But Evanston gave some TIF money for a Trader Joe's, which I actually did write about that. I thought that was one of the most preposterous TIF deals I've ever seen. People of the Dem persuasion love Trader Joe's. Like, they will line up to go to a Trader Joe's. You know what I'm saying? Like, why do they need a handout? But Evanston was like, no, we want Trader Joe's. So they gave him, even though it's across the street from a Jewel. Anyway, too much information about the TIP program at Evanston, D. I apologize for that tangent.
Oh, my goodness. All right. And when one election ends, another begins. We have more super early 2022 Illinois gubernatorial candidate news to discuss. But first, Ben, we have voicemails to play.
Ooh.
I know. It's true. I guess me reading our phone number over and over and over and over again every day is starting to pay off. Dude, I got like 4 voicemails here to play. We're not going to play them all in a row, but we are going to play them throughout our news segment. And if we have any left over at the end of the show, we'll play them as well. But our first voicemail comes from our good friend Jim. And Jim, last time he called us, he gave you a Bulls trivia question. I'm hoping that's the same thing here. Jim, we appreciate you. You're awesome. Thank you, as always, for listening on the live stream chat. Are you a Ben head? You better be. ChicagoReader.com/Jarofsky to go figure that out. All right, let's play the voicemail from Jim. I'm hoping I haven't heard this. It just came in as I'm doing the show. All right, sorry. Sorry. Several hats here on the Ben Jarofsky Show. I was writing the news. I'm like, all right, it's Jim. It'll be good. So here we go. Let's hear from Jim. Here we go. Maybe. This happens every single
We can
time.
just, edit this out on the podcast. No problem.
Oh, Lord. All right. Where are you at?
Just edit this out on the podcast.
No, we don't edit that out. Come on, this is fun. All right. If you want to leave us a voicemail and have me struggle to play it, 708-658-4788. The number again, 708-658-4788. You know, I may edit this out. I don't know, but let's hear from Jim. And one more second here. Hey.
Okay.
Ben, Dennis, this is Jim.
There we go.
For the Bulls trivia for Ben,
All
got
right.
two questions
Bulls
for him.
trivia.
The current Bulls head coach, Billy Donovan, he coached former Bull Joakim Noah and some other NBA players when he was a college coach. Which school did Billy Donovan coach at before he became an NBA coach? And I'll email the answer to Dennis. And then the second question for Ben for the Bulls trivia is going back to the 70s. Dick Motta was the coach when the Bulls had a pretty good run going in the early to mid-70s. Never quite made it to the NBA Finals back then, but they always had solid teams. When Dick Motta left, the Bulls made the playoffs in 1976-77 season. Who was the coach of that team that replaced Dick Motta? Who was the coach who replaced Dick Motta and had that Bulls team in 76-77 that made the playoffs unexpectedly? And again, I'll email the answer to Dennis. All right, guys, keep up the good work and good luck on the fundraising campaign. Hopefully, people will continue to donate and keep the podcast going strong. Have a good day, guys. Take care.
Hell yeah, Jim. That was awesome. Thank you very much, Jim. We appreciate that.
All right. The answer to his question, Florida State is the school that Billy Donovan used to be the coach at, and the coach of the 1977 Chicago Bulls. This is a little embarrassing that I know this. This is so long ago, ladies and gentlemen. This is before I was writing for the Reader. That's how long ago this was, and yet I know it. Ed Badger was his name. Ed Badger was the coach of the 76-77 Bulls. And as Dennis can tell you, the starting lineup for your 76-77 Bulls, the starting lineup was Artis Gilmore at center, Scotty May at forward, Mickey Johnson from the west side of Chicago at the other forward, and the backcourt, Norm Van Leer and Dennis's favorite player, Wilbur Holland, the starting lineup for the 76-77 Bulls, and I did not use my phone.
Per usual, a crazy, insane, long rant after the answers. I think you said Florida and Ed Badger. Is that right?
That is correct.
Today's segment of Bulls Trivia brought to you by Jim. Thank you so much, Jim. Ben Jarofsky. That was correct. Good job. Good job.
Dude, I'm really weird. I admit it. I openly acknowledge it. I admit it. I mean, think about it. I'm still obsessing over my vote over Dan Biss in the 2018 gubernatorial primary. And I remember why I did it. Because a certain strategist who are not named said, if you vote for Diber, you'll be wasting your vote. So vote for Dan Biss. Plus, I did love Leticia Wallace. I was his running mate. So I voted for Biss. It's 3 years ago. Get over it, Ben. Get over it.
Jim, that was awesome. Up top, my man. That was cool. Feel free to weigh in with more Bulls trivia. We did it perfectly there. You leave the voicemail, you give an answer. Boy, that first time we tried it was a shit show. Not this time, pal. You leave the voicemail with the question, you give me the answer on email, and we do it just like that. Bulls trivia, that is awesome. 708-658-4788. Call the Ben Jarofsky Show after the show, all right? If it's between 1 and 3, don't call. I have trouble trying to answer while we're going live. Once again, several hats here on the Ben Jarofsky Show and several voicemails to play still, including a wicked rant from one Mike Gerardi, all right? So that's going to be coming up. But let's continue on with the news. Like I said, when one election ends, another begins. The news broke Monday night. Conservative downstate Republican State Senator Darren, who's going to feed them hogs, Bailey, the fiercest legislative opponent of Democratic Governor J.B. Pritzker's 5-phase mitigation strategy to safely reopen Illinois.
Let's begin with phase 1.
Never. Darren Bailey formally announced his candidacy for governor. We talked about it here on the show yesterday. He held an event for the occasion. Everyone was gathered together, and according to reports, no one was wearing masks. A good time was had by all. But hey, we pretty much saw this coming a mile away. Obviously, this dude was going to run for governor. Pritzker's facing a lot of downstate hate these days, and Darren Bailey fits the bill as a leader for what we're now calling on the Ben Joravsky Show, the Pritzker Sucks movement.
That's true. That's a good one, D.
And Ben, our 2022 Illinois gubernatorial election is off to a very early start. And after the following news, I am confident in saying that Darren Bailey is the very early frontrunner. Sorry, Paul Schimpf, but the governor didn't respond to your announcement during a press briefing. Pritzker was recently asked about Bailey's big news, but, rather than wish the downstate Republican good luck, he wanted to circle back to that maskless event that he held. Pritzker said, quote, "I heard that announcement last night was in a room of hundreds of people and no one was wearing a mask. So I'm concerned about a super spreader event being caused by someone who's running for governor." Now, this isn't the second event that Bailey has held in Effingham this month with a largely maskless crowd. The first was a forum on February 8th. And at that event, Bulldog Springfield beat reporter Mark Maxwell pressed Bailey on concerns of coronavirus transmission. And shout out to another Bulldog. In fact, the meanest political Bulldog in the yard, one Rich Miller, getting him back on the chain. My God. Rich Miller went and found Bailey's response to Mark Maxwell. And Bailey said, quote, "As a matter of fact, my jacket's sitting over there. I carry my mask with me everywhere. I wear it when I feel the need to wear it. There are places, that mandate it. And if I need to go in there, I did this from day one. I've always had a mask and got one of my masks," he says. Anything you'd like to say there, Ben?
Yes.
Do
Darren
it.
Bailey. Clearly, this election, if Darren Bailey is the Republican nominee, and a shout out to Dennis, the moment we started talking about Big Feller, the moment we started talking about Darren Bailey, we've been talking about him a lot for the last 6 months. Dennis says, "Oh, this guy's running for governor." It was absolutely clear that he was running for governor, and he was going to claim MAGA, the MAGA mantle. He was going to be unapologetically Trump. And part of being unapologetically Trump is to act as though the pandemic is a fraud. No need to wear a mask. So I don't know, man. I've lost a little respect for Big Feller. Be honest with you, D. Yeah, already backing away. DB, you were the man. You were the one who didn't wear a mask. You talk about, I always have my mask and I was ready to wear the mask. No. House Speaker Michael Joseph Madigan orchestrated a vote to kick you out of the of the General Assembly, when the House was finally meeting in the early stages of the pandemic. They finally had that meeting. You didn't want to wear a mask because you were going to be the MAGA representative that would defy Michael Madigan, would defy the rule that said you have to wear a mask, because somehow or other, in MAGA's mind, this was an infringement on some liberty. Making people wear masks in the middle of a pandemic in a room with other people to protect everybody, that was like an infringement on a liberty, and it was unnecessary because you didn't believe that pandemic was real. And that was when, by the way, the movement was being led in Illinois, or included people in Illinois who would go show up at rallies with Nazi swastikas and Nazi slogans. Just saying that, DB. That was part of the MAGA crowd. And now, I guess, Dennis, this is like moving to the center for DB, where he goes, I have a mask in my back pocket. This constitutes moving toward the center. Guarantee you, folks, if Darren Bailey is the nominee, we will see JB-funded commercials showing him getting kicked out of that meeting. Remember, D? The sergeant at arms, and I think there may have been a cop there, so some security officials. Let's go, big fella. Come on, we got to move.
Man cow?
I just got carried away with the notion of him moving out. If I recall, some Republicans voted for him to get kicked. They didn't want to get the virus. Like there were a handful of Republicans. This is part of that Republican dilemma. You got the Republicans from DuPage County, where a lot of people believe the virus is real and believe that you should wear masks. Then you got like the great mass of MAGA hat wearers who don't believe it's real. So poor the Jim Durkins of the world are like, balance this, balance that. You know, do I go with the people in DuPage County who think I should wear a mask, or should I try to court MAGA? That's the struggle that they're facing. And already DB is selling out MAGA. Isn't that interesting? It's just selling them out, DB. You were the man. You didn't wear a mask. You should have told Mark Maxwell when he asked you, I don't think we ever had to wear a mask. And that's an infringement on my liberty. I don't know where that accent's coming from. I'm trying to, I have this image of Darren Bailey that is no way related to the Darren Bailey that exists. You ever notice that, D?
You have this knee-jerk reaction to give all downstaters a Southern accent.
Yeah, that's really unfair. I will now do my downstate state accent. Hi, little Danny.
Wait, my uncle? Is that my uncle?
That's me imitating Dennis, imitating Uncle Eldon. So, D, I'm a little disappointed with Darren Bailey. I would have appreciated if he just stood right up and said, you know what? I don't wear masks. I don't think I need to wear masks. That's what Trump did. The only time Trump wore a mask, remember when he was in the hospital? He came out of the hospital after he licked COVID. He took the mask off. Everybody was cheering. Yeah, I don't think he put one on after that. Come on, DB. You want MAGA's vote? You got to be MAGA to the core.
Now, one thing Darren Bailey touched on during his announcement was Illinois' population loss. He blamed Pritzker, called him a hippie or something. Listen, I don't remember the details, but he promised to bring people back to the state of Illinois. Pritzker responded to that statement that Bailey made. Pritzker said, quote, I've been working on this issue since day one. This was a problem before I became governor. I think you all know that we had more people leaving the state than coming to the state. We had a significant immigration to the state over the last several years as a result of former President Trump and his policy. What I've been working on is making sure that we're attracting and keeping students in the state, because that's been part of the numbers of people who have left the state. Many students who are eligible to go to school at a reduced rate in the state of Illinois get a better deal leaving the state to go to another school out of state. That should not be, and that's why I've increased every year the amount that we put into our scholarships and made it easier at the schools for kids who are at median income levels and families are or below to get a free education. So that's just one way, that's what it says here, that we're trying to make it better for the state to attract more people to the state, to keep people in the state. And he says here, finally and lastly, I think it's very important to recognize that building jobs from the ground up, building up our small businesses, which is really where most of the job growth takes place in every state at all across the United States, that is what we ought to be focused on. And in the wake of a pandemic, that's where we ought to be putting our resources.
Yeah. This is like put politics aside from the moment. I haven't had a conversation about this in a long time, D, but we've had this in the past. We've had demographers come on the show and talk about why are people leaving the state of Illinois? Why every year? It's been a pattern. And then, of course, in Chicago, why are black people leaving the city of Chicago? It's like two separate but related topics. And folks, I like to think I have an answer for everything. But in this particular case, I don't have an answer. I dutifully read the Chicago Tribune editorials, those right-wing editorials that say it's higher taxes that are forcing people out of the state of Illinois. And that's why people are fleeing the state of Illinois. I don't know. I think it's something bigger than that. I know pretty much everybody I know who's left Illinois has gone to a warmer climate, D, including a lot of people going to California where the taxes are higher than Illinois. It's like, I want to go to California, by the way. It's so freaking cold in Chicago these days. So I don't know what it is. I really don't. We're going to take a deeper dive on this one, D. And this is going to be an issue that Darren Bailey obviously will be raising. Look, I'm presuming that Darren Bailey will be the Republican nominee. I'm presuming that he's going to beat State Senator Paul Schempp and who else? Man Cow. Mr. Cow is also running. Whoever else is running. I'm just presuming that Darren Bailey would be the candidate. Maybe Adam Kinzinger will sneak in because MAGA splits the vote. But I got to look into this because I don't have a convenient, ready answer for this. You know, like the Tribune's got a ready answer for it. And it's just like, it's a perfect answer because it just fits all their whole ideological world. Well, it's the higher taxes. Let's cut taxes. It's the pensions. Let's get rid of pensions. I get the emails from the Tribune readers and they'll send me links. I get these emails like, guys, I read the editorial already. All right. You sending me the editorial is not going to convince me that they're right just because I said it.
Well, yeah. I know you say you don't have the answer, but Steven on the live stream chat seems to have an answer here. He says people leave Chicago because it's a bad value for the money. They demand tax money and give us fuck all. Oh, wow. Fuck all in return. Well, filthy.
Yeah. It's leaving Chicago and leaving Illinois. Like I said, they're similar topics, but each it's like a specialty for each. So.
Oh, and he also says black folks are leaving for Atlanta and other places where folks can stand a chance at making ends meet. Chicago is structurally racist as fuck. Okay, well, with the language here, Stephen.
Well, I got to agree with that last point. Can't argue with that last point. But you know, it's funny about the Great Migration out of Chicago. And it was happening of black people out of Chicago. It's been happening this entire century. You know, I think it was celebrated in the Rahm days because it was a sign that the city was getting stronger because the notion was somehow or other when black people leave, the poor people are leaving. That's kind of like the general notion that was prevalent and also prevalent during the Daley administration. Cheered on, I might add, in some ways by the Chicago Tribune, the same Chicago Tribune that's so worried about people leaving Illinois. So, you know, I think there's all kinds of attitudes embedded into people's interpretations of why folks are leaving Chicago and why folks are leaving Illinois. But it is so true that it was not considered a big problem that so many black folks were leaving Chicago. It was not treated as a significant problem during the Daley and Rahm Emanuel administrations.
All right, now back to Darren Bailey before we move on here. Do you see the Darren Bailey, the Pritzker Sucks movement, I guess? Do you see it growing at all as we move into the election here, as we get closer towards a vaccine? Or like, where do you see this ending up here, this whole movement?
I don't see it growing. I know it's people are very passionate about it. You were the first person that told me about all the Pritzker Sucks signs, but we've had many guests come on that, who are Democrats, Democratic activists who are outside of the Chicago, immediate Chicago area, and they talk, Ben, you won't believe how unpopular Pritzker is, and more than you won't believe how unpopular Madigan is.
And Bailey, he just gave that event. It said in the story, hundreds were there. You know what I mean? It's not like he was just there by himself yelling at a wall.
Yeah. So, you know, I just don't believe the Pritzker Sucks movement will take hold in Chicago and DuPage County and Cook County. That Pritzker Sucks movement is one. It's tied up to the the lockdown phase, wear the mask phase, the rebellion.
Let's begin
against
with phase
one. The rebellion against Pritzker's ultimatums. So I don't see it growing. I believe that Pritzker will win re-election. I said that yesterday on the Heartland Mamas radio show when I went with the Heartland Mamas podcast, when I went with the Heartland Mamas. I see Pritzker winning re-election, D. And I think that one of the Heartland Mamas, Murray Briel, was predicted that Pritzker would not run for re-election. And I didn't see that coming at all. She'd be like, oh, he'd be sick of it. And I'm like, Murray, I don't see that because I believe that when the vaccines come, we're going to have a revival. Why would Pritzker walk away from a re-election run if we're having an economic revival? That's what many people are predicting. I will finally leave my attic. You will leave your apartment. We'll go out to that restaurant on Lawrence Avenue where they sell the chicken wings and dine on chicken wings.
I mean, for the record, I've been leaving my apartment.
That's true. You went skiing just a couple
I go
weeks
skiing.
ago.
I go outside. I go places. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you have been. You've been a lot braver than I. I only leave at night. But anyway, so I just don't see Pritzker losing. He's got a lot of money, D. So I know the people who hate Pritzker hate him with a passion, and they whack their signs. And Trump got big crowds too. And I remember when I was so excited on the opposite side when Bernie got big crowds. Remember Bernie Sanders, was it at Navy Pier, D?
Yeah.
Like thousands of people. I was like, I think I may have told you this. Did you see all those people show up for Bernie? Joe Biden doesn't get crowds like that. My own way, I was echoing Donald Trump. But, you can't always equate the big crowds with a big turnout at the polls. I discovered that with my beloved Bernie Sanders in 2 election cycles.
All right. Well, you heard it here first on the Ben Jarofsky Show. Wednesday, February 24th, 2021, J.B. Pritzker will win re-election in November 2022. Very early prediction, but we're rolling with it, all right? Hey, we got more voicemails to read. Come on, Ben. When I say voice, you say mail. Voice. Okay, all right. Let's just go ahead and play the voicemail here. This is from Mike Gerardi. Yes, the author of such hit songs as The Editorial Board, A New Low, World's Greatest Newspaper, and so much more that you could check out at Gerardi Bandcamp. Mike Gerardi Bandcamp. Go check it out. Download those songs. But we're going to play his voicemail here. Apparently, Gerardi went on a riff here. Well, I have 2 voicemails. He had to continue his riff on the second voicemail. So get ready. We always love him. Michael Gerardi, thank you so much. Hope all is well. Let's hear from Mr. Gerardi.
Gerardi, Great column, but I have some questions. And when I have questions, I need to turn to the experts. And I'm returning a library book here called Chicago on the Make, Power and Inequality in a Modern City by some guy named Andrew J. Diamond, who apparently is a history professor at a university in Paris, France. And as Dennis could tell you, not to be confused with Paris, Illinois, which is also lovely, but in a different way. This guy, on page 282, he's writing about TIFs. And he says, this lack of transparency enabled the creation of a public funding system that reinforced inequalities rather than ameliorating them, a situation that remained largely obscured until Ben Jarofsky, a journalist for Chicago's leading alternative newspaper, the Chicago Reader, managed to get his hands on some internal TIF documents. According to Jarofsky's investigative work, TIF skinned $1 billion in property taxes off the city's revenues between 2003 and 2006. So this book is sending the message loud and clear. You're the expert I need, Ben. Scholars from all over the world turn to you to understand TIFs. But I need you to help me understand this other thing you're writing about with the budget and the COVID shenanigans with the budget. And all I want to know is, why are we acting surprised by this? Don't you remember last spring, early in the pandemic, when the mayor proposed an ordinance and forced the city council to vote on it, that all it did was take away their own power to review and give any oversight on what the mayor was going to do with the budget and spending, as long as she could claim that it had something to do with COVID, which, as you know, over the past year, everything has had something to do with COVID. So she told us that she was going to do this. She told the aldermen, and then she made them vote on letting her do it in the dark however she wants. And they're like, yeah, sure, absolutely. You know, they're rubber stamps anyway. They might as well just save the ink, get rid of the formalities. I mean, it's their one fucking job. But, yeah, you want to take away my one job? Sure. I mean, just make it easy. So the defense was, we need a quick response. And so there wasn't time for aldermanic review. There wasn't time for budget stuff. I guess there wasn't time for democracy, but this.
Oh, hold on. That cut him off. He's got more. He's got more. By the way, the radio days are long gone. All right.
Hold on. Let me just. At first, I didn't know which column he was alluding to. Michael Gerardi, thank you so much for reading my columns, and thanks for listening. And hey, hurry up, write some more music. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to do that for our show. But the column he's alluding to is the one I just wrote, and I should post it on Facebook. I haven't got around to it yet. And I take the deep dive and the Mayor. I talked about this with Maya yesterday. Mayor Lori Lightfoot, her administration took $281.5 million actually that they got from the feds for COVID relief and used it to pay for the police. And what I was saying in the column, and what Michael was picking up on, this is an old practice. There are bills that have to be paid by the city. There's obligations to pay, in this case for police, and they'll just take the money wherever they can get it. I remember once interviewing a budget director for the city of Chicago during the Daily years. It was off the record because he'd probably been fired for talking to me. And he said that when you're a budget director, your job is basically to fill buckets with money. And they really don't care where you get the money. You just got to put the money in the bucket. And after they're done, if anybody's paying attention, and most likely nobody is, and they don't realize that you're actually paying for something like, I don't know, streets and sanitation with money that's earmarked for the water department, just making that up there. But if you do that and someone calls attention to it, you have to come up with a justification. And so that's they come up with a justification in this case to explain why so much money in COVID aid went to the police department. And they were saying things like, well, the cops were, like checking on people who had a fever. The cops were administering aid that would help people who were sick. I mean, they were just making it up as they went along. I had a lot of fun with that in the column because that's an old tactic and strategy by budget directors in the city of Chicago. Find the money wherever you can and then just spend it where you have to and make up an excuse when it's all said and done to justify it.
And like I said here, the radio days are long gone, Ben. We got the host is cursing. We got our guests cursing, live stream chatters cursing, callers cursing. Michael Gerardi continues, though. Michael Gerardi, once again, thank you so much. You're awesome.
Ben, Mike Gerardi, I got cut off because I'm fired up and the phone sensed it. I just have one quick request. I need you to help me. Whatever happened with that ordinance last year about the exceptions to the budget approval by the city council, as long as it had something to do with the pandemic response. I remember them talking it would just be temporary, but how temporary? What happened, and why are we surprised by this? I need you because I don't know the answers. I'm not a scholar in Paris, France. I'm just some schmuck in Beverly, but still, I need you, Ben. Help me.
That's funny, man. What happened was temporary, and so they relinquished that power to Mayor Lori Lightfoot. Gave her all the authority, and we denounced it on the show. Remember, I said, it's the one good point Darren Bailey is making, that J.B. Pritzker is not an emperor. He should just not have all this unilateral power. It's the one thing I agreed with the big fella on. In terms of Chicago, it was a temporary thing, and that's why the COVID $281 million COVID expenditure came to light, because the mayor had to return to the city council to get approval for spending $68 million unspent. I know this is details that are people's eyes are glazing, but she had to return to the city council to get authority because she didn't have the unilateral authority that she had sought in the early days of COVID. So it did expire. But yeah, it's an old story. It's an old practice, I should say, Michael, because I was explaining before. Even the great Mayor Harold Washington, my favorite mayor, he was known to do this thing. I remember there was somebody that he wanted to hire, and it was a community affairs sort of job, but the only position they could find for him was on the streets and sand. So they had his job salary being paid out of a line item in streets and sand. And I remember Harold Washington laughing about it, and just saying he never thought the day would come when he would, well, first of all, be mayor of Chicago, but be playing games like this. So it's an old game in the city of Chicago. Good government folks would say it's wrong. I agree, it's wrong. But the reality is there's obligations have to be met. And when you're under the gun, you'll do what you can to pay those bills. And if you got to move money from, take it away from people who are in desperate need for relief from COVID to pay for the cops, that's what the mayor's going to do.
Thank you once again, Michael Girardi. Jim, awesome trivia question there. Be like Jim, be like Mike Girardi. 708-658-4788. Call the Ben Joravsky Show and leave us a voicemail. We would love to play these voicemails. Those were fantastic ones. In fact, I'm going to play a voicemail from Kathy during the break. She reached out to us as well. But that is our local news segment for the day, everybody. Remember, you can download previous Ben Joravsky shows, Benny J bonus interviews, so much more at chicagoreader.com and wherever else you download podcasts. Our interview with Maya Dukmasova is, in fact, up there, chicagoreader.com and wherever else you download podcasts. You can reach out to us online at Benny J Show, BENNY, the letter J Show, on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can send us an email as well. Elaine, thank you so much for the email. Always appreciate the kind words. chicagoreader.com/Joravsky to help out. All right. Become a Ben head. Subscribe to the Ben Joravsky Show. Subscribe to the Chicago Reader and go check all that out and be on the lookout for Ben's new book. Rumor has it, if you're a Ben head, you'll get a deal on that book. All right. So go check that out as well. And yeah, I think that's it. Let's take a break. What do you say, Ben?
Sounds like a good idea to take a break. And Monroe Anderson will be with us when we return.
Hi guys, this is Kathy from the live stream chat. And what I want to know is, if we really want to keep Ben off the street, and for me to go in my piggy bank and see if I can dig up some money for you guys, could we please have a playback live stream chat? When I miss a show, I listen to it, but it's just not the same without seeing the chat too. So I hope you answer this. I hope you play this message and give me the answer I'm looking for, because I'm counting those pennies right now. Bye.
All right, Kathy. I will go to and make sure to edit that all the comments on the live stream chat are allowed. That's about all I can really do, I think. Maybe I'm doing something that I don't know. Maybe I could do something more. I'm not sure, but I just I allow all comments. I'm just clicking it right now. Allow all comments, and the comments will be available on the playback. Thanks, Kathy.
I'd love to win a Grammy. Face coverage. Face coverage. Face coverage. Face coverage. I'd love to win a Grammy.
All right. Hour number 2 of your Ben Jarofsky Show is brought to you by SEIU Healthcare, Illinois, Indiana, the Chicago Federation of Labor, and the Chicago Reader. Benny J, take it away.
Every Wednesday, Monroe Anderson joins us from his lovely home on the north side of Chicago, having done some Tai Chi. He turns the TV down so we don't have to hear it, and he talks politics with us. I'm going to ask him about Michael Madigan. I'm going to ask him about Lori Lightfoot. I'm going to pick that big Chicago brain of his. Or we start, of course, with national, because that's generally what we talk about, Monroe. And I got to say, before we had this whole cheat sheet that let me see, by the way, did you put some on Facebook?
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay. I didn't think so. But we had this whole cheat sheet of things to talk about. And then right before I went on air, I read this article that I didn't refer to you when we were doing the pre-show, because I hadn't read it, obviously. But it talks about Joe Biden's $1.9 trillion pandemic relief bill, which is very popular according to polls. And they quoted this kid who used to work for Obama as a press secretary. His name was LeBolt. I mean, after that, he worked for Rahm. I remember when he worked for Rahm. And I just smiled when I said this, because obviously this kid's been listening to the Ben Jarofsky Show. Quote, Biden's not going to be judged by the margins he gets in the Senate. The biggest change from Obama is a failure. The biggest danger is a failure to deliver what we promise. In other words, what LeBolt is saying is it doesn't matter if Biden needs 50 votes plus Kamala Harris to pass that $1.9 trillion pandemic relief bill. He's not going to do what Obama did and spend weeks searching for the lone Republican who will join him.
Months, not weeks, months.
Months. Come on, please. I need a Republican.
Right.
You only need, and this was my argument. I know we talk national politics, Monroe, but I was talking about this with the budget with Mayor Lori Lightfoot. What do you need? You need 25 votes in the city council. Your vote's the tiebreaker. That's it. And you pass a budget. It doesn't matter if it's 48-2 or 26-24. And it's the same principle in Washington. And do you think, Monroe, that the fact that this Rahm had, this Ben LeBolt kid who worked for Rahm, that he is saying this to the New York Times, do you think that's a sign that the Dems finally
they're
understand?
doing it. They're doing it. You know, what Biden is trying to do is demonstrate that he was serious about lowering the temperature and trying to be bipartisan. But he knows, I mean, there have been all kinds of signals that the Republicans are going to be Republicans, that they're not interested in any sort of bipartisan anything. They're already running for next year. They're running for 2024. So their thinking is that if they can prevent Biden from doing anything significant, then it drastically increases their chances of winning back the House and the Senate. And so that's their focus. And that's how they're going to play it. And so Biden's going to pass the COVID-19. The only thing that's up for question right now is whether he can keep the $15 an hour minimum wage in it or not. The parliamentarian will rule on whether that's possible or not. And if it's not, that he's willing to take it out. There are some Democrats who say that because we got the votes, we can overrule the parliamentarian and keep it in. But he doesn't want to go that far.
I urge him to do so. I see. This is the problem with the Dems. This is the problem with the Dems. They, first of all, as you pointed out, they act as though that there's a spirit of bipartisanship that exists in Republicans, and it's absolutely non-existent.
No.
And then they act as though that they take serious the cockamamie studies that come out of things like how raising the minimum wage actually hurts people who get the minimum wage. Do you follow
Right.
what I'm saying?
Right.
So they allow themselves to be played on two fronts. And I was really hoping that, like in this particular case, they wouldn't even listen to the cockamamie theorists who say somehow or other, if you give a guy a raise, it's bad for him. You know, it's
Right.
like reading a Chicago Tribune editorial. Yes, he's getting more money, but it's bad for him. Huh? What? So I'm really hoping, I took this as a positive sign.
No, Biden will put it through. He will put it through because it's popular. I mean, it's, everybody wants it, but the Republicans in Washington. And they don't want it because they're for welfare for the rich, but not for anybody else.
Yeah.
Rich and the corporations. But that's
it. Speaking of Republicans, we've been having fun with this story for a while on the show. I don't think I've talked to you about it. Neera Tanden, who is Joe Biden's nominee to run the Office of Management Budget, for years was an obsessive Twitter head, and she'd be sending out tweets at all hours of the night, battling. A lot of it was battling Bernie supporters. She loved Hillary a little too much.
right.
And as such, she was still didn't get over 2016, blaming Bernie for 2016. Monroe has been known to head down that path every now and then. And so now, of course, she's being held accountable for her tweets. I'm all over the map on this particular story. I'll get into what I object to about Neera Tanden. But I'll get your thoughts on this. Neera Tanden, should she be ruled out as head of the Office of Management and Budget because she was a chronic tweeter, or do you think it's unfair? Go.
I think it's unfair. I think it's unfair. I'm a fan of hers because she was a regular interview on MSNBC, and she was very sharp, very critical. But that's the problem. I mean, it would be almost like if Biden decided to have you or me put on the in some cabinet position, how that would fly with the Republicans. Now that's a problem. Well, two problems. There's some suspicion of misogyny. If she were a white guy, she'd squeak through, more than likely. At least that's the theory. But they were, Biden being Biden, he was thinking, and his people were thinking that she would be able to get through because she would be historic, the first South East Asian appointee and a woman. So she'd be two first, and that they could get her through on that. The Republicans are looking for heads. And so, and hers was the biggest one to go after. So that's what they're doing. And then you got Joe Manchin, who is a quote moderate, and who was voted for bad tweeters on the Republican side, but now suddenly he's grown a conscience. And he doesn't want to vote for anybody who would divide the Senate, as if they're not divided already.
All right. There's a lot to follow up on, including Joe Manchin. I'll put him to the side. I'm with you. The utter hypocrisy of the Republicans to act as though they're astounded, they're aghast at Neera because she's a chronic Twitter head. She tweets obsessively. Right. And she does have a problem, by the way, Monroe. Or she did have a problem. Just saying, she had a problem. They are the party of Trump. They swore loyalty to Trump. Whatever Trump tweeted, they obeyed. Trump was, of course.
But, okay, in their defense.
Wow. This is a moment in defense of MAGA. Go ahead.
Hey, they would say that they wish he tweeted less.
They did. That was their thing. Yeah, I know. It's like,
I don't like the tweets, but other than that, he's a great guy.
Yeah. You should just tone down the tweets a little bit. But yeah. Yeah, no, I have heard that a million times. But I never saw them once vote against him because of the tweets. You know what I'm saying? You know, just mild.
No.
So I agree with you. The utter hypocrisy of them punishing her for her tweets. Here's the part, and I almost know what you're going to say, but I'm going to say it anyway because this is how I feel.
Yeah.
I'm disappointed in her because she put the tweets out.
Yeah.
A lot of them I agreed with, by the way. Like
Yeah, right.
that Cruz had as much of, there are vampires with more heart than Ted Cruz. I think that you could say that's factually an accurate statement. I know literally there's no vampires in the world, but all right, metaphorically speaking,
Right.
you know, they have a greater heart than one of the most heartless people in the world. So she took the tweets down when she got.
And you do remember that Donald Trump said that Cruz had an ugly wife and that his father helped kill Kennedy.
Yes.
Yeah, those seem to be slightly nastier tweets than what she did.
Yes.
However, hers are to be held against her.
Yeah.
And then Trump's as well, you know, that's Trump.
So, Monroe, my part is, why take them down? Let me just articulate my thought here and get your reaction. It's like, you put it out there. Everyone knows you put it out there. Obviously, you believed it when you said it. You probably still believe it. I don't see what in the world Ted Cruz has done lately. We'll get into Texas in a little while. What in the world Ted Cruz has done lately that would motivate you to break from that opinion that he's a heartless creep, which is what he is. Yes. I think most Republicans would agree with that. So why take it down? It's like my guess is like, you know what, folks? I was a private citizen. I had my political beliefs. I put them out there, but now I'm going to be a public servant, and it's not appropriate for me to tweet. I got to get along with you guys. I don't always like you, but I'm going to have to deal with you, so I'm not going to tweet anymore. But I stand by what I tweeted. What's the matter with saying that? Why take down the tweets and then the apology? Like, oh, I'm so sorry. I really...
Because she's trying to get the job. That's how... And so if that will do it, then that will do it. That's what they're advising her. She's not doing this on her own. The Biden administration people are saying, you are a long haul right now, and try this and we'll see if we can get you through. You know, they canceled. They were supposed to have the committee vote today, and they postponed it because they're having trouble. Even she doesn't even have all the Democrats now.
No, once Manchin went, look, you know as well as I do that once to get her through on a straight party vote, they need 50-50 with Kamala Harris breaking the tie.
Right.
Once Manchin said that he wasn't going to vote for her, they needed at least one Republican to make up for his vote to get to the 50. None. Mitt Romney said he wasn't going to do it. Susan Collins said she wasn't going to do it. I don't know what Lisa Murkowski said. Those are the likely.
Murkowski hasn't said anything yet.
She hasn't said anything. She's got her cards close to her vest.
Right.
And so
Murkowski may be a Democrat this time next year.
Well, I hope she is.
Yeah, right.
Just get rid of that. That's my advice to all those anti-Trump Republicans. Just leave the party. Yeah. Because they're insane. That's my advice to Adam Kinzinger.
Right.
Here in Illinois. Just leave the party. The party is freaking insane. The gubernatorial candidate nominee for the Republican Party against Pritzker is probably going to be some MAGA hat wearer, Monroe. That'll be an embarrassment to most mainstream old-time Republicans. So just leave the party. Left you should leave the party.
Right.
But my point is,
but then what we end up with is more mansions.
Yes, if they got elected, yes, we would.
Right.
Well, what would you rather have? More mansions or more Lindsey Grahams?
Right. Okay. That's fair. Which Lindsey Graham?
That's true.
maybe one or two of them it would be okay, but
Yeah, that's true. Remember that speech on January 6th? We all know he won. We all know he won. And then like a week later,
right,
I'm a little uncertain.
right, exactly.
You're right. What a weasel that guy is. All right, Tommy Tuberville, or whatever his name is, the coach, who's now the senator from Alabama. There you go. Hardcore Trumpite. Whatever you say, Donnie, I do.
Right.
So I would rather have more Joe Manchins than hardcore MAGA. That's what I'm saying. What about you?
Yeah. Right. If we had enough other Joe Manchins, then it wouldn't matter.
Yeah.
Because we'd have enough of a number where we still could get it through. It's just at this particular delicate period in our history that we have to worry about things.
But this is classic Michael Madigan style politics. So follow me on this. Once Joe Manchin said he wasn't going to vote for her, and that put her nomination in jeopardy, that meant if another Democrat votes against her, he's not the deciding vote. Manchin took the hit as being the deciding vote. And so that other Democratic senators say, I'm not going to vote for her either, which in their mind, it's will prevent them from getting attack ads against them saying, you know what I'm saying?
Everybody's afraid of being primaried. Because our type of Democrats are gaining in power and pushing hard. You know, AOC may challenge Schumer.
Good.
Yeah, she's really seriously thinking about it. And if she challenged him, she may win.
You know, I would welcome that. Although I think she's a great force in Congress, but obviously Senate has an even higher profile and more significance. I was thinking of AOC. This was not part of our pre-show planning, but I was thinking of AOC because Amazon, I think it was state of New York, is suing Amazon about conditions in their warehouses in New York. And I was reading that article and I was thinking, my God, things have changed. It was only 2 years ago that the New York State, Andrew Cuomo, who I'm really down on these days, and Mayor de Blasio were teaming together to give Jeffrey Bezos and Amazon untold billions in assistance to bring their headquarters to Amazon. And it was AOC, newly elected Congresswoman from the Queens, from Bronx, who stood up and said, what a waste of money. A former waitress, who stood up and said, what a waste of money this is. And Monroe, she sparked like a mini rebellion in New York, and Amazon pulled away from the deal and said, forget it. And they ended up in, suburban Washington. So it's like, oh my God, how much, just because one congresswoman, recently elected congresswoman, had the guts to defy the machine, if so to speak, their machine.
But she has a following. You know, she could have won in two different congressional districts in New York. The one she won in and one other. That's how popular she is. And she's very articulate, and she knows how to speak to the everyday person. And so, it wasn't just the oneness of her, but it was the one. And that's in that situation.
Well, that a Schumer AOC showdown would be incredibly expensive, incredibly entertaining.
Yeah.
You know, Schumer would not be as easy a candidate to defeat as the fellow Joe Colley that she defeated for Congress, who was absentee, didn't fight back. You know, Monroe, Schumer wants that position. He's going to fight hard.
Oh yeah, no, this is why he's becoming more Bernie-like by the week. Pretty soon, you guys will be saying, "Feel the burn" for Schumer.
There's no truth to the rumor that he's now growing like a little ponytail in the back and wearing a leather jacket and smoking reefer. He's heading in that direction. All right, help me out with Joe Manchin.
Okay.
What's the deal with Joe Manchin?
Joe Manchin is from a redneck state, and he has to be, quote, moderate, or they would run him out of state on a rail. Tar and Featherman run him out on a rail. So he has to be, he's no nonsense, pragmatic, and that's the only way he can stay where he is. So that's the reality of the situation.
Well, I'd rather have his vote on a $1.9 trillion stimulus package than have his vote on whether Neera Tanden gets to be the head of the office. So if I had to pick and choose, I would take the former. You're the same? Right.
And I think part of why he's probably opposing her, now this is my speculation, but I think the reason is so that he can say to his folks back home that, I'm not in anybody's pocket. I'm being fair and square, and and I'm looking out for us. And then back home they're going, yeah, that Joe boy.
The West Virginia accent, is that of Monroe Anderson, and does not in any way reflect. Dennis was making fun of me because my downstate accent, but your West Virginia accent is equally bad. But your point, I agree with you. That's what he's doing. He's trying to make himself look as though he's independent of Joe Biden, to give him cover to vote for the $1.9 trillion. And then that's a game he's playing.
Which is popular. So in West Virginia, it's popular everywhere, literally, but in Washington among Republicans. Everybody else loves it, and the Republicans hate it because they're worried about the deficit. They don't want. I mean, it's good for right now, but then your grandchildren are going to be paying for this thing.
Yeah. No.
But actually, they don't want it because that will seal the deal for next year. Once this law is passed and everybody's getting the $1,400, and people are beginning to get back to work, and the virus is fixed, then what are the Republicans going to run on?
Yeah.
Because they don't have a platform. They didn't have a platform for 2020, period.
No,
if not in jail. So he's not going to be the great leader that he imagines himself right now.
No, I'm with you. Pass it as quickly as you can. And then, as you were advising last week, take a page from Mayor Lori Lightfoot, take full credit for every check that everybody gets, go around the country, clipping every ribbon that you could possibly clip.
Right.
Don't pull an Obama and go to sleep on it vigorously. Keep an eye on those.
Obama didn't go to sleep on it. That was, no drama, Obama, Mr. Modesty. I mean, he wasn't asleep. He was just being Obama.
Yeah, which is kind of sleepy, if not technically asleep. All right.
He's being cool.
Yes, he's cool. That's what he is.
Right.
Very cool.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, it's not sleepy. It's cool.
Yeah.
All right.
He could hit the 3-pointer from the corner on his way out.
Yes, he did. He was very proud of that. I had to give him credit. It's like, whoa. Yeah. He was wandering through a gym, picked up a basketball, shot a 3, and it went in.
Because as you know, a corner shot is the hardest one to do.
It's actually the easiest one to do for a 3. And take it from a guy who used to go to the corner. That was my game. I'd run to the corner and hope someone would pass me the ball. All right, let's get to a little Trump talk. And in the last week, since you were last on the show, the Supremes said, sorry, Donnie, you do not have some kind of special privilege that prevents the state of New York from looking at your tax returns. So you're going to have to turn them over to the prosecutors in New York. And I believe that ruling was the beginning of the end.
No, it is the beginning of the end. It is. I mean, they're going to prosecute him in the same method that they do crime bosses, the mafiosi, which they've been gotten very good at sending mafiosos, as we know, to prison. That's how they're going to approach this. They have a financial forensic person they hired about 6 or 8 months ago or so. They're now bringing in this guy who is very good at. I mean, they are loaded for bear, and they will get him. And what I think they're going to get when they go through it is that he has been laundering rubles since the early 1990s. There isn't anything new.
You have been predicting that on this show since I've had a show.
Right.
That's what's hidden in Donald Trump's secret financial papers.
Right. I mean, there are other things like he's not nearly as rich as he says he is. I mean, he's a millionaire many times over, but he's not a billionaire.
Yeah, and the other point being with the Michael Cohen point, that he claims one thing to the taxing authorities when he wants a tax break on property, says the building's not worth much, and he claims another thing on his federal taxes when he's trying to deduct as much as he can. So he's essentially committing perjury. That's the allegation that Michael Cohen made, and he's going to pay for that.
Right. Well, that's also could be called bank fraud.
Yes.
And it is a white-collar crime.
So, Monroe, I have a question. Do I owe an apology, in your humble opinion, to Brett Kavanaugh, Neil Gorsuch, and Amy Coney Barrett? For the longest time, I was predicting that they would be Donnie Stooges on the Supreme Court, or worrying that they would be Donnie Stooges on the Supreme Court. Yeah,
you do owe them an apology. I never thought that would happen. That is a for-life job. So whatever it took, if Donnie had demanded they play water sports with him for a night, they would have to get that job. Because once you're there, and you have the power. Now the thing is, they are still right wingers. By philosophy, that's what they are. So, but the thing is, they are trained to be lawyers and judges, and Trump was so far out of line on all this stuff. He thought that he was hiring Michael Cohen, putting this Michael Cohen in the Supreme Court. Yeah, but that's just how stupid he is.
Yeah, I admit, I actually thought, I believe that Clarence Thomas has a passionate hatred for liberals.
And black people. No, he hates blacks.
You think Clarence Thomas hates black people? He doesn't hate black conservatives, does he?
Not a one of them. Not one out of all 10. No, he doesn't hate Armstrong, for example. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he doesn't hate Armstrong.
Wait, go into that a little bit. What do you think Clarence Thomas' attitude is toward black people?
He hates them because there was this whole there's this color phenomena among blacks that is not nearly as strong now as it was when he was a child. And so he was poor, he was dark skinned, and so he was not popular. And as he grew, I think I've said this on this show before, but I've seen a photograph of Clarence Thomas at a friend's wedding back in the 80s, late 70s, early 80s, where he's dressed like a Black Panther. Black leather coat, beret, or what have you. But he made his transition. He, you know, the Republicans, he got him a white wife. You know, blonde, you know. So he's there, and he showed those Negroes he don't need them. You know, he did. He in talking about how blacks were going to hate him and people were going to hate him for his positions. He said he was doing push-ups and going to the gym because he's going to live a very long time. But this is a revenge thing he's doing.
Well, that's my point. I wasn't viewing revenge against black people, but I was thinking just revenge against liberals. And putting aside his attitude toward black people, he has this clear, passionate dislike, to put it mildly, for white liberals.
Right.
He can't stand them.
Yeah, well, his wife is that way too. I mean, you know, he's making her and her family happy with what he's doing.
Yeah. But you know, Monroe, I'm just thinking about this. I have to say this. To me, Clarence Thomas, it's such a trick bag, because I remember so clearly the anger that he responded to white liberals who criticized him, saying that you just want a black man who says what you think, and you don't like me because I'm off the plantation. And I remember thinking at the time, you just went on another plantation.
Right.
You know, it's like, it's
right. Now, there's this woman, Stephanie Tressel, who used to have a radio show. Mm-hmm. And she on Facebook, she's always going with this plantation business and repeating these Republican talking points about how they're exploiting black people and we don't know about it. We haven't figured it out, you know. And I have pointed to her by trolling her that we have a black mayor, woman mayor. We have a black county president. We have a black woman who's the deputy governor, assistant governor, lieutenant governor, I guess. We have a state's attorney, black state's attorney. If the Republicans would exploit us that way, I'd be a much happier man. And plus, we had a black president.
Yeah.
Democrats. So for them to talk this foolishness about how the Dems are just exploiting black people, and now with Biden and with us having delivered Biden, we're getting a whole lot of respect.
Yeah. Black people did deliver Biden. Let's be clear about that, ladies and gentlemen. Right. The margin of victory in Wisconsin came out of Milwaukee. The margin of victory in Michigan came out of Detroit. The margin of victory in Pennsylvania came out of Philly. And, of course, in Georgia, it came out of Atlanta. And it's not a coincidence, Monroe, that the Republicans, when they tried to reverse the election and take it from Biden, who won it, and give it to Trump, who lost, did it on their strategy was to get courts to approve throwing away thousands and thousands of black votes.
Exactly.
That's unbelievable. Just get rid of Detroit. Hey, we win the state of Michigan. Well, they get to vote too, Republicans.
Right. No, that's part of the Republican problem right now, is that they feel and think that the only votes that should count are white people. That's the real vote. Anything else is bogus.
Yeah. All right, but going back to Clarence Thomas, I actually believe, and that his hatred of all things liberal and all things democratic is so intense, and Alito, I think, is the same way, that they would vote. It would be just a gut level feeling of hatred for the other party. And I thought Kavanaugh was that way. I wasn't sure about Gorsuch, but Kavanaugh expressed such hatred toward the Democrats in that second hearing. Remember, he went after Hillary Clinton? I go, uh-oh, it's another Clarence Thomas. He's going to be on that bench for 30 years hating on Democrats. But this is where I feel like I may have to apologize to Kavanaugh, because he's shown less just knee-jerk hatred
But
for
he's a
Democrats.
Republican, it's just like with Kinsey here. He is an enlightened Republican, but he is still a Republican.
Kinzinger.
Yeah,
Okay.
Kinzinger. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Kinzinger. He's still, I mean, he's, so don't expect miracles.
No, I don't expect miracles. I wouldn't even call him enlightened. I'm just saying, you know what, Kavanaugh, I owe you an
Only
apology.
for a Republican is enlightened. He's not.
I thought he'd be a total, utter flunky lackey for Trump. I predicted that in many conversations with Jim Coogan, and I was wrong. So I got to give him credit for that. I didn't think Gorsuch was in that same boat, even though Trump appointed him. But I thought, and I was worried about Amy Coney Barrett. But you're right. She's showed from the get-go. I'm on the Supremes. I don't need you.
Exactly right.
I don't need you.
Right.
All right. Let's close by going local, like we always do. Monroe Anderson, for years, as journalist here in the city of Chicago, knows how Chicago politics works. And of course, he was press secretary for Eugene Sawyer, Mayor Sawyer. So two things I'd love to talk to you about on a local issue. One is Michael Joseph Madigan stepped down as, well, Speaker of the House, but also chairman of the Illinois Democratic Party. And there's now a competition to replace him. Speaking of black women, between two black women, Robin Kelly, who's a congresswoman from the 2nd Congressional District in the southern suburbs outside of Chicago and a little bit in Chicago, and Alderwoman Michelle Harris of the 8th Ward on the south side of Chicago. So just to your point, Monroe, the next chair of the party will be a black woman.
Right.
Do you have a do you have a favorite in that race? Is there a general, you have a feeling where the Democrats in Illinois should be heading? What's your thoughts on this?
I met Madigan when I was press secretary, Sawyer's press secretary, and the mayor of Chicago kissed Madigan's ring back then. So whoever, I don't know. I don't know enough to predict who will get it, but whoever gets it is going to have to work a while to get anything like the power he amassed. And my guess is that she won't get it because she's a black woman. Those the Democrats downstate, the Democrats Southeast and Northwest are not going to be as agreeable with her as they were with Madigan. I hope I'm proven wrong, but that's my suspicion.
Well, my suspicion is that whoever gets the gig will be Mike. I mean, it's really interesting. I thought that I was going to say whoever gets the gig will be obligated to Pritzker, and that's what caught me off guard. Pritzker came out early for Michelle Harris. Then all of a sudden, Robin Kelly emerged as Dick Durbin's candidate. And so I'm like, wow, that caught me off guard because I just thought they were just going to, whoever you want, JB, since you're probably going to be funding the party, and it's your neck on the line in 2022.
Right.
And so I was a little caught off guard. I was a little...
Well, see, but JB's not playing that way. He's not a homegrown Chicago Democratic machine politician. So his mentality isn't exactly like that. Not yet. It may by the time a couple more years pass by, it may become that way. But he's not that way.
Monroe, I cannot remember. I actually can't remember. We were reminiscing at the start of the show about the 2018 gubernatorial election. I voted for Dan Biss and Leticia Wallace. Dennis has been endlessly teasing me about that. Dan Biss, by the way, just got elected mayor of Evanston. So he went from running for governor to running for mayor of my hometown. Who did you vote for? I literally cannot remember. Who did you vote for?
Pritzker.
And your argument was it was good to have a billionaire at the top of the ticket.
No. I liked what he was saying, and that he picked a black woman as his running mate.
Yeah. Well, so did of course it took Danny Biss a while to get there, but he had Leticia Wallace. But you're right, Pritzker from the get-go had Juliana Stratton. Right. It's coming back to me. I remember you coming into the show on the radio show those days, and I would be for Biss. I wasn't for Pritzker. It took me a while to go to Biss, but and
also it was my position that we need our billionaire to beat their billionaire.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
right.
my recollection.
That position too. Yeah.
All right, and we'll close with Mayor Lori Lightfoot. We're talking a lot about this, and I wrote my column about it this week. A little smile on my face. The budget games that mayors play. Mayor Lori Lightfoot took COVID aid that she was pretty much free to spend on anything she wanted related to COVID, and she spent it on the Chicago Police Department. And then when she got called on it, when the alderman pointed out that this was money that should go to COVID aid. There were two reactions. One, she had her budget aid go to the city council and come up with some cockamamie explanation how it really was COVID related, which of course nobody believed.
Cops get COVID too.
Okay. And then Lori Lightfoot's response was, "What a dumb question! How just stupid these people are!" And I'm doing you a favor by spending the money on the police budget so I don't have to raise your taxes, you nincompoops. So leave me alone. Yeah. It's a old game in Chicago politics, Monroe.
See, unlike the federal government, you don't have a money printing machine if you're mayor of Chicago. And when you're, what is it, $1 billion? Or how much is Chicago's budget in the hole right now?
Oh, who knows?
Yeah,
I can't remember, but it's a lot of money.
Anyway, so you have to try and patch the holes in any kind of way you can. But I'm sure you haven't forgotten this. I think you were around when the lottery was first instituted, and all the money was going for education. And I don't know how long ago that went bye-bye, but the money doesn't go for education.
No, it goes into general revenues. And you pointed that out when you were explaining, in your opinion, why the fair tax fell apart. People remember that sticks with us. And this is the problem of playing games this way, Monroe.
Okay, let's do this. You got these huge holes in the budget. How would you patch them? What would you do?
If it was Mayor Ben?
Yes, if it was Mayor Ben. Because if you come up with the right answer, I'll be your campaign manager.
Monroe, just the notion of me being mayor of Chicago is so far-fetched. But it's like I would be looking for be looking for the most progressive forms of taxation I could find to tax rich people. And I would be defeated every step of the way. First of all, in a million years, I wouldn't be elected mayor anyway.
Right. And the rich people that you taxed would move to Indiana. They would make Gary great again.
God, no, moving there. Now you sound like a Republican. You've been hanging around Willie Wilson too much.
You forget. I live among rich people.
That's true.
I live among them, so I have a clue.
He knows what they talk like. In the old days, when he would leave his house before the pandemic hit, he'd go for walks. He'd bump into various rich people and tell me about his conversations with them.
Yeah, I tell you, like, well, one of my neighbors is a city planner. He wrote he wrote the Steve Friedman.
Yeah, he's a consultant. He's not a planner. He's a consultant. He's a TIF consultant. He did what I could do, only he made a fortune. I spent my life pointing out what a scam it is, and he's like, Ben, why are you wasting your time?
I have had conversations with him, and he has a very careful defense of it. And he goes by dollar. He explains exactly how the money works. And it makes sense to me. I would like for the three of us to get together for a drink sometime.
Well,
because he wants to argue with you. He won't do it on air because
there you go. Yeah, he wants to argue. I'll tell you what.
Not be a consultant because he went on air talking about it.
Yeah, he'd lose that business. I'll tell you what. I look forward to going and having a drink with you and him, maybe a few drinks, because that's what it would take, a few drinks to make sense out of the Chicago TIFF program. That's for certain. You got to be drunk. All right, enough TIFF talk.
He very excitedly says that you don't know what you're talking about. By name, he said Ben Jarofsky doesn't know what he's talking about, and then he gives reasons.
Yeah, and then I say this to that. Until he's ready to come on publicly, and one guy is public, putting his neck on the line behind what he says, and the other guy is walking his dog down the street saying, "Oh yeah, boy."
Yes, 2 dogs.
Oh, yes, 2 dogs with gold-plated collars, which I paid for with my TIFF dollars.
Yeah, at a home in Vermont.
Oh man, and why wouldn't he defend the TIFF program? I'm a broke-ass reader-writer in my attic. Anyway, all right, Monroe, stay safe and sound. You have one shot. You need another. I don't have any shots. This scam with the vaccines is driving me crazy. But I got a feeling, Monroe. I got a feeling that you and I,
Johnson Johnson going to be on the market in a week. By Tuesday.
By Tuesday. So if we get those vaccines, we're going out. We're going to have lunch together, go to drink together. I haven't seen you in so long. Just see you on this image.
Yeah.
But I just
by the end of April, if you want to come back to the studio, I'm there.
Oh, I don't know if we'll ever go back.
There
to that
is no studio.
Yeah, we're. I think it's going to be like this. But all right, very good, Monroe Anderson. Stay safe and sound. Talk to you real soon. All right.
All right. Okay. All right. Bye.
That's the legendary Monroe Anderson. Yes, his neighbor is a TIFF consultant, loves TIFFs. And why wouldn't he? TIFFs have been very, very good to him. Got him that house in Vermont. I should have been a consultant on TIFFs. You know how much money I would have?
You should. God. You should. I'm marking on your calendar right now for when you go out with Monroe to drink. Let me see here. July 2023. Okay, great. Dude, you're staying in that attic forever.
Yeah. Oh my God, my beloved Evanston movie theaters. I saw the paper, they're going out of business. Oh no, it's this freaking pandemic. I was hoping they could hold on. I love those movie theaters.
Well, we do have a podcast. Maybe we should get the new mayor. Put him in the hot seat. Talk to him about it. Throw him on the show.
Dan Biss, if you want to spend your Evanston TIFF money getting those movie theaters back, I'll just look the other way. I'll just pretend it didn't happen. I'll go, I'm looking over here. I don't see what's going on over there.
Yeah, the country's divided and pandemic, all that. What about that theater?
Yeah. You ever been to that theater? I love that theater. It's like, one of those multi-screen theaters, and they had a great bar. And
the piano bar?
Yeah,
I've been there.
You remember it. Yeah. I love going to that place. And one time I bumped into Terry Cosgrove.
Oh, my.
He had to go and see the movie. By the way, he'll be our guest at 4 o'clock. We'll be talking. How about that?
You'll be able to, you're almost there. You'll be able to download it by 7. We're talking to him at 4, but you'll be able to download it by 7.
Actually, we won't be able to download it
till the weekend.
Because it's a bonus.
Oh, man, that plug went to shit. All right. Let's do the back half. Oh, and by the way, Monroe, feel free to go to the studio. I mean, we won't be there. We're no longer at the Suntime studio, but go ahead, go in there.
You know what? By then, follow me in this, we'll have that camera fixed, and I'll set up I have a desk here in my attic, and we could sit around the desk, and Monroe could visit me in my house, and then we could go drinking afterwards.
Nah.
Okay. Well, just threw it out there. What's the back half, young man?
We do have updates. We do have breaking news. Today, Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot presided over the city council meeting. And don't worry, we will have David Glowatz on the show soon to cover what went down. But hey, this cannot wait until David's interview, all right? Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot was caught on a hot mic again. You've seen this on the internet, right, Ben?
No, I dutifully.
The following comes from the Chicago Sun-Times and Fran the Woman Spielman. The headline reads, Lightfoot caught on a hot mic again, this time using profanity during city council meeting. Alderwoman Rosanna Rodriguez Sanchez, Ben of what board?
She's your alderman, 33rd Ward.
That is correct. Alderwoman Rosanna Rodriguez Sanchez concluded remarks on a Black History Month resolution, and Lightfoot can be heard muttering, "You got to be fucking kidding me." Lightfoot quickly texted Sanchez, telling her the profane remark had nothing to do with what the alderman was saying. Mayor Lori Lightfoot on Wednesday got caught on a hot mic again at a city council meeting. And yes, Rosanna Rodriguez wrapped her remarks on a resolution on Black History Month. Once again, Lightfoot muttering, "You've got to be fucking kidding me." The mayor's profane mark was circulating on social media within minutes of the slip. Lightfoot wasted no time texting Sanchez to say the profane mark had nothing to do with what the alderman was saying. So it's kind of read the same thing like 2 times there. But go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I'll be taking a deep dive in this one tomorrow, T. I will be. We should bring Rosanna on the show. She hasn't been on in a while. Great guest. I don't know if it didn't have anything to do with what Rosanna was saying. Why did she say it after Rosanna said it? If that made sense. That was just my initial thought. So I'll have to take a deeper dive in this. But Mayor Lori Lightfoot has some issues, T. It's not the first time she has cursed at an alderman. This may be the first time, correct me if I'm wrong, you're our expert on mayoral aldermanic relations. This may be the first time she's dropped the F-bomb at an alderman. Because wasn't it, wait, now I'm all mixed up. Who dropped the F-bomb at who? Ray Lopez to her, or Mayor Lightfoot to Ray Lopez?
Well, and technically that wasn't a meeting. That was a leaked call, right?
No, that was it was not a quote unquote official meeting. It was an illegal meeting. It was in violation of the Illinois Open Meeting Act. But it was a meeting of the aldermen with the mayor in the aftermath of the May, 29th weekend, when there was violence throughout the city. And Raylo it was supposed to be a private briefing in which the mayor updated the alderman on what she was doing, how she was on top of everything, how the police were on top of everything. So it wasn't technically a city council meeting, it was a briefing, and it was illegal, in my humble opinion, because there were too many aldermen there. Should have been a public hearing. But anyway, I think
Raylo said fuck first.
Yeah. She said, you're full of shit, and then, So it's new ground for the Mayor Lightfoot. First time she ever dropped the F-bomb, okay? And in this case, she apologized. So she's learning, D. Right? She didn't apologize to Raylo, did she? No. She didn't apologize to the head of the Fraternal Order Police dude. Remember when she dropped the F-bomb about him? No. So she's learning, D. Must be some internal polls saying that, public doesn't really like it. Even Northsiders. I don't know. Northsiders love her no matter what she does. She can do anything, and they would love her.
Rosanna Rodriguez Sanchez said the mayor sent a text saying that her staff brought something to her attention, and that was her expression to what her staff brought to her while she was presiding. And Rosanna Rodriguez Sanchez said, "I'm going to take her words as the truth, and I'm going to move on." Asked if Lightfoot had apologized, Sanchez said, "It wasn't an apology, it was a clarification. She texted me to clarify that what was said was not in reference to what I said." At the time of Lightfoot's second hot mic clip, the city council was debating a resolution honoring Black History Month.
I don't know, D, what do you think? You think that's legit?
Who, me?
You think she was, come on, put down the hot spot here. Do you think Lori Lightfoot was responding to something an aide gave to her when she said that? Or do you think she was responding to what she just heard from Rosanna Rodriguez? Go ahead.
Who do I look like? Joanna Klonsky? All right, let's move on.
Let's call it Tucking and Touch.
Finally,
what else you got?
more news on Michael Madigan. Another resignation. Did he finally step down as Capitol Building Hall monitor? No, not yet, but one of his replacements already resigned. And Ben, we may have a new record. The following comes from the Chicago Sun-Times and Rachel Hinton. The headline reads, "Millennial resigns 3 days after appointment to legislative seat Madigan filled for half a century." Edward Guerra Codat offered, I butchered that one, I guarantee it, offered his resignation from the Illinois General Assembly on Wednesday, just 3 days after he was sworn in. Codat's resignation comes on the heels of a Tuesday night statement from Madigan and Alderman Marty Quinn, suggesting Codat step down because of, quote, allegations of questionable conduct. Let's see here. This is a quote. It says, after learning of alleged questionable conduct by Mr. Kadat, it was suggested that he resigns as state representative for the 22nd District. We are committed to a zero tolerance policy in the workplace. Now, I mean, before maybe not, but now we are. The statement did not explain what the questionable conduct was.
Yeah, so bizarre. I think I said this to you before we went in air, D. Michael Madigan was the state rep from the 22nd District for 50 years, approximately 50 years. His replacement lasted 3 days. We went from 50 years to 3 days. That's got to be some kind of record. Yeah, and you're absolutely correct. Michael Madigan ran a loose ship when it came to matters of sexual harassment. He essentially looked the other way, and that's what got him in trouble in the first place with Lena Hampton's allegations, which she substantiated with emails that she was being harassed by one of Madigan's top political operatives. And when the dust had settled, a couple people had quit. Madigan had pledged to change his ways. There was investigations by Democrats. It was the beginning of the end for Michael Madigan, in my humble opinion. So it's really bizarre, D, that he, even though he says he walked away, he's still like stuck. You know what I'm saying? It's like he quit as party chairman, he quit as House Speaker, and he quit as state rep. And this embarrassment now still keeps him attached to the seat he vacated. So he's still the Democratic commitment of the 13th Ward. That means there's going to be a reconvening of the ward committeeman to pick a replacement, because now the vacancy exists again. And so he'll still have the most weighted votes. So he'll still be in a position to pick his successor. Very bizarre story coming out of the Southwest side. And D, it just goes to show you how Michael Madigan's operation is just completely falling apart. Cannot imagine this kind of breakdown in the old days where the machine, it was the epitome of the machine in Chicago, supposedly so organized. And that was Madigan's reputation. Every detail he took care of. He was the most cautious, careful politician in the world. Never made a mistake. Held his cards close to his vest. You didn't know what he was thinking. Played the game 3 steps ahead of everybody else. And now it's just a shambles. Like, again, I'll say it. 50 years, right? Is my math correct? Yes, it is. Almost 50 years he was the state rep. And his replacement lasted 3 days. Folks, the Democratic machine in Chicago is dead, okay? I think we could just take that war horse, dig a hole, and put it in there and cover it up, because it doesn't exist anymore. Ed Burke, good God, Ed Burke, this is what I wrote about, in the city council, was like a North Side independent, raising questions about spending patterns by Lori Lightfoot, and she was mocking him for being dumb, for asking the questions. She was treating him the way all powerful machine mayors would treat independent aldermen back in the day. And he was the epitome of the Democratic machine. And now you got Madigan, he can't even get it together to come up with a replacement. The other titan in Chicago machine politics, Joe Barrios, was defeated. From the North Side, the last of the Richard Mell was defeated from the North Side. His daughter was defeated. I think it's about time we just say the machine is over. But D, you watch. People are still talking about how anytime they announce they're running for office as an incumbent, I'm fighting the machine. The machine's over, guys. It's dead. It's through. Michael Madigan can't even get it together to name a replacement for himself. If that doesn't indicate that the machine is dead, nothing else will.
All right, everybody. Remember, you can download previous Ben Joravsky shows, Benny J bonus interviews, and so much more. ChicagoReader.com and wherever else you download podcasts. The previous weekend's Benny J bonus interviews are up there. Our interview with Maya Duke Masva is available as well. Look for our interview with Terry Cosgrove and others for this weekend as well. So much content, all right? Over 900 episodes. Go check it out. Remember, you can also send us an email, bennyjshow@gmail.com. Leave your name and where you're from if you'd like us to read your email on the program. Reach us on social media, @BennyJShow, BENNY, the letter J Show, on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And hey, Let's keep the trend going. Getting a lot of calls lately. 708-658-4788. The number again, 708-658-4788. Be like Jim. Be like Kathy. Be like Mike Gerardi. Be like Doogie. Call the Ben Jarofsky Show. Leave us a voicemail. There's a good chance we will play that voicemail on our program.
I want an answer. It's not something you ignore.
I think you're 100% full of shit, is what I think. If you think we
no offense, fuck you then. Who are you to tell me I'm full of shit?
The no offense part gets me every time. Raylo. All right. Want to thank Monroe Anderson. Outstanding job as he always does. And of course, the man, the myth, the legend, the pride of Jordan, Illinois, without whom the show would be possible. And as Raymond Lopez and Lori Lightfoot will tell you back home in Alton, they call him White Lightning. Give yourself a raise, take it out of petty cash. See you tomorrow, everybody.
Face coverage.
This little light of mine. This little light of mine.
I want an answer.
This little light of mine.
I want an answer.
Let's begin with phase one.
I want an answer.
This little light of mine.
I want an answer.
I'd love to win a Grammy.
I want an answer.